Good evening and welcome to Thursday night's edition of Primetime News. I'm Salima Shumwe-Feleni. Leading the bulletin tonight, United Nations UN resident representative in Namibia, Sen Pang, on Wednesday paid a courtesy call on President Dr. Hage Geingob.
United Nations resident representative in Namibia, Sen Pang, informed Geingob of the UN's 2021 key priority areas for Namibia, which include strengthening health systems, enhancing social protection, and economic prosperity. He explained that strengthening health systems is the first priority and will deal with emergencies and essential services, which according to Pang would focus on the National Vaccination Program COVID-19 Task Force and treatment. Enhancing social protection especially focuses on empowering women, youth, and children and offering protection against violence, abuse, and exploitation, he said, adding that the third priority, economic prosperity, will look at addressing high unemployment, particularly among youth, women, and vulnerable groups. He noted that climate change, resilience, as well as HIV and AIDS will continue to be key target areas for the UN. Pang said he welcomes engagements with the government in order to discuss how these key priorities can be adjusted and aligned with the National Development Plan 5 and the second Harambee Prosperity Plan.
We'll continue to work in other areas like supporting human rights, but our primary task is to provide support to the GIN in efforts for the achievement of SDG goals. So the above priorities shall be adjusted in the light of Harambee Prosperity Plan 2 and the National Recovery Plan.
Geingob thanked the UN for their continued support to Namibia, noting that his doors are always open for more engagements. He said the Harambee Prosperity Plan 2 will be launched next week, where he will be able to go into detail on their focus areas and see how the UN, with their priority areas, can assist. He noted that the Harambee Prosperity Plan 2 is aligned with the National Development Plan 5 and will generally look at economic progression, social transformation, environmental sustainability, as well as good governance as key pillars.
Your new ideas can help us in job creation. Young people need jobs, unemployment question of youth, some who are educated. It's a big problem for the country. So these are the things that you tackle. But while you have the Harambee Prosperity Plan 2 now to come in, which we are going to launch next week or so, next week, I will explain everything.
For Nampa News, LV Haihambo.
The World Health Organization (WHO) has advised Namibia to go ahead with the procurement of AstraZeneca vaccine despite studies that it is less effective against the South African COVID-19 variant, which was detected in Namibia.
In a media statement issued on Wednesday, the Ministry Executive Director Ben Nangombe noted that it has become evident that the variant identified in South Africa is present in Namibia based on results from a specified number of confirmed positive COVID-19 tests that were sent to South Africa for genomic sequencing. A total of 105 samples were sent for genomic sequencing, representing tests conducted between August 2020 and early February 2021. 81 samples were successfully sequenced and analyzed, and the variant of concern was found in 16 out of 81 samples isolated between October 2020 and February 2021. The results were confirmed on 6 March 2021. According to Nangombe, genomic sequencing was considered following the announcement of the discovery of the new coronavirus variant, known as the variant of concern, by the government of South Africa in December 2020. The South African variant is said to carry a mutation that appears to make it more contagious. Considering that Namibia shares long borders with South Africa, with various points of entry and frequent movement of people between the two countries, the Ministry of Health and Social Services, together with the Namibia Institute of Pathology, resolved to send a specified number of stored samples of confirmed positive COVID-19 tests for communicable diseases in South Africa for genomic sequencing, Nangombe explained. He further explained that the samples were randomly selected with assured anonymity from Irongo, Omaheke, Ohangwena, Khomas, Klaras, Oshikoto, Omusati, Ochozonjupa, Oshana, Zambezi regions, and from peoples aged between 11 and 54 years. The samples were drawn from tested specimens that are stored by different accredited laboratories that conduct COVID-19 tests in the country. The samples were chosen to represent the different geographic regions of the country in order to determine the extent of the spread of the variant in Namibia. It is through genomic sequencing that the presence or absence of the variant of concern can be determined, added Nangombe. He, however, assured that Namibia will continue collaborating with partners and countries in the region and beyond for routine genomic surveillance for COVID-19 variants. Josephine Simeon, Nampe News.
Executive Director of the Ministry of Health and Social Services, Ben Nangombe, on Thursday announced that Namibia recorded 180 new COVID-19 cases, 2 deaths and 61 recoveries.
Among the confirmed cases are 9 learners from different schools, and there are also 5 healthcare workers who tested for COVID-19 during this period. We have recorded 61 new recoveries, and the recovery rate stands at 94%. The recoveries are distributed per region as follows: Oshikoto 57, Umsati 3, and Ochodonjupa 1 case recovered there. The total number of active cases currently stand at 2,069, and 144 are hospitalized, 28 of whom are in intensive care. The distribution of the hospitalized cases are as follows: Commerce region, 57 hospitalized cases with 20 in intensive care. Irongo 19 with 3 in intensive care. Umsati 14, Ohangwena 10, Zambezi region 8, 9 in intensive care. Karas region also has 8 with 1 in intensive care. Oshikoto region 8 with 2 in intensive care. Oshana region 7 with 2 in intensive care. Kunene 4, Kavango East 3, Omaheke 2, and Osodonjupa 2, none of those are in intensive care.
Justice Minister Yvonne Dausab has sent a letter of demand to Landless People's Movement lawmaker Henny Sebeb, demanding an apology for remarks made against her, claiming she completed a law degree on behalf of another parliamentarian.
Please sit down.
Justice Minister Yvonne Dausab is accusing Landless People's Movement lawmaker Henny Sebeb of making false defamatory remarks when he charged that the former completed a law degree on behalf of the Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta during her time as a law lecturer at the University of Namibia. Nampa reported the incident, which occurred during the National Assembly session last week.
Okay.
You have no respect
please.
for yourself. That's why you behave like that, Honorable
Okay.
Sebeb. Just keep quiet. You don't have
Thank
any
you.
understanding how the law works.
Order.
In a lawsuit seen by Nampa, Dausab's lawyer Trevor Brokerhoff demands a public apology from Sebeb before or on Friday, 19 March 2021. Failure to adhere to such a request will result in instituting summons against Sebeb in the High Court of Namibia for defamation in the amount of 300,000 Namibian dollars, reads another section. The lawyer said Sebeb was determined to defame his client. Brokerhoff added that it was Sebeb's intention to paint Dausab in a bad light. For the lawyer, Sebeb's assertion against their client is devoid of in an iota of truth. Dausab further denied having ever lectured Shifeta or having any contact whatsoever with him during his study period. The lawyer noted that he is well aware of the parliamentary privilege that Sebeb could use to protect himself. Conducted for comment, Sebeb indicated that he will respond to Dausab's demands through his lawyers.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism is intensifying its efforts to address the current increasing devastating human-wildlife conflict incidents in some parts of the country. Presenting his statement in the National Assembly on Wednesday, Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta said a number of human-wildlife conflict incidents involving elephants, lions, buffaloes and wild dogs have been reported, causing damage to crops, livestock, water infrastructure and homesteads.
Addressing human-wildlife conflict requires striking the balance between conservation priorities, and the needs of people who live with wildlife. Human-wildlife conflict needs to be managed in a way that recognizes the rights and the development needs of local communities. And the farmers recognize the need to promote biodiversity conservation, promote self-reliance, and ensure that decision-making is quick, efficient, and based on the best available information. It is for this reason that the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Tourism is intensifying efforts to manage the conflict, and specific mitigation and the preventative measures are being put in place to manage the conflict. These measures include drive and chase away elephants to areas where they will not cause problems. In some instances, helicopters are being used or will be used to chase away these elephants.
We'll be back shortly after the news roundup. The Namibian government made 225.4 million Namibian dollars from the Tsumeb-Oshikango Railway between 2006 and 2021. The main commodities transported during this period are fuel, building materials, and loaded containers. This information is contained in a response by Works Minister John Mutorwa to questions by Popular Democratic Movement PDM lawmaker Johannes Martin.
The major commodities that are transported there, they translate into the amounts and tons that I've mentioned, are generally fuel, petrol, diesel, building materials, and loaded containers. You check the trains, those are the most basic commodities, really. And they are good, they are valuable things. When they are being transported, you just look at it as something. But those are the things that keep the economy. Now, with regard to passengers, the number of passengers making use of this train service on the Tsumeb-Oshikango line, the figures that we have, in 2010, 2011, 1,280 people. 2011, 1260, I don't know what happened there. Maybe you see there's also a competition in transport. The minibuses are running, the buses are running, and people have a choice. Majority of them will prefer to jump into the bus, and you don't fall to them. The train is slow, so those can also explain the fluctuations in the numbers of people who use the train as a passenger mode of transportation.
We'll be back shortly after the economics roundup. That's all the news we had for you tonight. Please stand by for Shalva Wells with our sports news.
Thank you, Salima, and a good evening to all of you and welcome to another edition of Sports Planet. I'm Shalva Wells. We start with tennis news. Rafa Nadal will not compete at next week's ATP 500 event in Dubai as he has not recovered fully from a back issue sustained ahead of the Australian Open, the world number 2 set earlier today. Nadal struggled with the problem in the build-up to the year's first Grand Slam and skipped Spain's ATP Cup ties but still managed to reach the quarterfinals at Melbourne Park without dropping a set before losing to Stefanos Tsitsipas. The 34-year-old 20 times Grand Slam champion has not played since the defeat and was awarded a wild card to compete at the March 1420 tournament in Dubai. In more tennis news, after more than a year out, Roger Federer returned from injury to beat Britain's Dan Evans at the Qatar Open on Wednesday. The 39-year-old Swiss underwent 2 knee surgeries last year following the 2020 Australian Open. Feels good to be back. I am happy to be standing here regardless of if I won or lost, but obviously winning feels better, Federer said in an on-court interview. South African billionaire Patrice Motsepe is set to become the Confederation of African Football (CAF) president in Rabat Friday and face the greatest challenge of a career littered with business successes. Vastly experienced Ivorian football administrator Jacques Onoma, who will advise Motsepe, has described the Cairo-based football body as sick. Motsepe succeeds disgraced Malagasy Ahmad Ahmad, who is serving a 2-year FIFA ban over governance issues and will require his vast array of business skills to fix the organization. Motsepe will be the first South African to lead CAF, following in the footsteps of 2 Egyptians, a Sudanese, an Ethiopian, a Cameroonian, and a Malagasy. Unlike previous African football leaders who came from National Association backgrounds, his connection with the sport stems from owning Mamelodi Sundowns. We will be back shortly after the sports roundup. That's all the news we had for you this evening. We thank you for tuning in, and if you are new to this channel, please subscribe, like and share. From me, Shalva Wells, and the entire Nampa team, good night.